Most people think buying a fund is simple. Pick a name, put in money, wait for it to grow. That is exactly why most people lose. Big institutional investors never operate this way. They never put all their money in one direction. Never. Not once. But everyday investors do it constantly. They chase whatever is hot. They pile into one sector because a friend made money there. And when that sector turns, they lose everything they gained and more. Think about every trend you have watched crash. Clean energy stocks, hot tech names. The next big thing everyone was buying. Each one created a wave of people who got in late and got trapped. And this is not bad luck. This is a pattern. And once you see the pattern, you can avoid it. Today, we are breaking down the exact 3 rules professional money managers use to win consistently. Not by guessing right more often, but by building a system that protects them when they guess wrong. Stay with me because rule number 2 is the one almost nobody follows, and it is the reason most portfolios never recover. Lesson 1. Never bet everything on one direction. The first rule is simple to say and hard to follow. Never concentrate your money in a single direction. Professional portfolios are built completely differently from what most beginners imagine. A well-built portfolio might hold more than 100 different positions. Domestic stocks are balanced across styles. Some small companies, some technology, some healthcare. No single sector dominates. Then the portfolio expands outward. International markets, developed economies, emerging markets. At the base sits bonds, a small allocation to precious metals, and cash held as a buffer for turbulence. Here is the key detail almost nobody applies to their own money. No single position is allowed to grow past a small percentage of the whole account, usually around 5%. Why does this matter so much? Because nobody actually knows which sector will lead the market next year. Not analysts, not fund managers, not the confident person on social media. When you spread your exposure across many directions, the failure of any one part cannot sink the entire account. One area struggles while another quietly performs. The portfolio keeps moving forward even when a single bet would have failed completely. This is not a boring strategy. This is survival. Because in investing, the number one job is not maximizing gains. It is staying in the game long enough for the gains to compound. Think of it like a ship crossing the ocean. A ship with one giant sail moves fast when the wind is perfect. But the moment that wind shifts, the whole ship is in trouble. A ship with many smaller sails adjusts constantly. It rarely moves at maximum speed, but it almost never capsizes. Wealth building rewards the second ship every single time, and that leads directly into the second rule, which is even harder to follow than the first. Lesson 2. The discipline to sell and lock in profit. This is the rule that separates people who build wealth from people who watch their gains disappear. Selling with discipline. Not selling out of fear. Not selling on a whim. Selling according to a plan you set before emotions got involved. Here is the trap almost everyone falls into. Your position is up. You feel great. Then a voice in your head says, wait just a little longer. It might go higher. So you wait. And you wait again. And then the market turns, and every dollar of profit you were sitting on gets handed straight back to the market. This single mistake has destroyed more portfolios than any market crash ever could. A disciplined system solves this by using a simple rule. When a position rises significantly, a portion of that gain gets automatically moved into safer assets, even if the position keeps climbing after that move. The strategy does not care, because what gets locked in is a certain profit. What gets left on the table is an uncertain future. Ask yourself honestly which matters more to your long-term wealth. A guaranteed win today, or a maybe that could turn into a loss tomorrow. People who take the guaranteed win consistently outperform people who hold out for the perfect exit. Because the perfect exit almost never comes. And chasing it is exactly how disciplined investors become undisciplined ones. Think about how many times you have heard someone say, "I was up so much, and then I gave it all back." That sentence is not bad luck. That sentence is the direct result of having no selling rule in place. Before the gain happened, the fix is not complicated. It just requires deciding your exit rules while you are calm instead of while you are excited or scared. Now here is where it gets even more interesting, because Rule 3 explains what to do with your money once it is protected. Lesson 3. Respond to the market. Do not predict it. Nobody can tell you with certainty what the market will do tomorrow. Nobody. Not the loudest voice on financial television. Not the confident trader online. Not even the professionals managing billions of dollars. Anyone who claims certainty about tomorrow is either wrong or lying. So if prediction does not work, what actually does? The answer is response. Instead of trying to guess the future, professionals prepare for multiple versions of it. If one area of the portfolio grows too large relative to the rest, a small piece gets trimmed back. If a certain asset starts carrying more risk than it used to, that exposure gets reduced ahead of time, not after the damage is done. Bonds and safer assets exist specifically to slow the portfolio down when markets get rough. This is the entire philosophy in one sentence. Plan for potential turbulence in advance instead of reacting after the turbulence has already hurt you. Markets will fall. That is guaranteed. What is not guaranteed is how much damage that fall does to your account. A portfolio built with these 3 rules does not avoid every downturn. Nothing can do that. But it falls less. It recovers faster. And it keeps compounding. While a lot of poorly built portfolios are still trying to dig themselves out of the hole. Picture 2 investors living through the exact same market crash. One of them loses a third of their account because everything was concentrated in a single trending sector. The other loses a small fraction because their money was spread wide and their risk was trimmed ahead of time. Same market, same crash. Completely different outcome. The difference was never luck. The difference was preparation made months before the crash ever happened. Here is the honest truth. None of these 3 rules are complicated to understand. A teenager could explain them back to you in one sentence each. The difficulty is not knowledge. The difficulty is execution. Try building this yourself, and you quickly discover the real challenge. You need to track dozens of positions. Every single week you are asking which ones need trimming and which ones need adding to. You have to sit on your hands when everything in you wants to chase the hot new trend. You have to actually sell when your emotions are screaming to hold on. Doing this once is manageable. Doing this correctly for years without breaking discipline is where almost everyone fails. This is not a knowledge problem, it is a behavior problem, and behavior problems do not get solved by reading one more article. They get solved by removing the decision from your hands in the moment emotions take over. This is exactly why so many people know what they should do, and still do the opposite when real money is on the line. Knowledge without a system is just information you ignore under pressure. A system does not ask how you feel today. It simply executes. That single difference is worth more than any stock pick you will ever hear about on social media. So what should you actually do with this information? Start by looking at your own accounts honestly. If any single stock or single fund makes up a large chunk of your total portfolio, you already have your answer. That is the exact concentration risk that traps ordinary investors during every market cycle. Begin trimming that position down gradually, not all at once, not out of panic, on a plan. Next, set a rule for yourself, right now, before your next big gain happens. Decide today what percentage of a gain you will lock in and at what point you will do it. Write it down if you have to, because the version of you sitting on a large unrealized gain is not thinking clearly. The calm version of you planning today is finally build in a buffer, a portion of your portfolio in safer assets that exist purely to slow the bleeding when markets turn rough. It will feel unnecessary during the good times. It will feel like the smartest decision you ever made during the bad ones. The people who build lasting wealth are rarely the ones who guessed right the most times. They are the ones who built a system that survived being wrong. Diversify so no single mistake can sink you. Sell with discipline so gains actually become real money instead of numbers on a screen that vanish. Respond to what the market is actually doing instead of guessing what it might do next. These 3 rules will not make you rich overnight. Nothing that actually works does. But apply them consistently, and you give yourself something far more valuable than a lucky win. You give yourself a system that keeps working no matter what the market throws at you next. Most people spend years searching for the one perfect pick that will change everything. That pick rarely comes. What actually changes everything is boring. It is showing up with the same 3 rules year after year, while everyone else is chasing whatever is trending this month. If this broke down something you needed to hear today, stick around, because the next lesson builds directly on this system and shows you exactly how to put it into practice starting this week.